guys, Jay here. Welcome to Models Memories Weekly, episode 49. Models Memories is a show about nothing and is filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is a show where I talk about painting, modeling, and wargaming experiences from the week. Now you might think to yourself, Jay, you live stream every single night and you put out 3 YouTube videos a week. How could you possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here goes. This week I read my first White Dwarf magazine. Never actually read one of these. White Dwarf has existed from Games Workshop since the very beginning. And magazines probably made a lot more sense back then in like the heyday of the magazine when everybody had magazine subscriptions for everything. Now I feel like it's a little bit of a relic, but they're still, they're still going strong. I bought this because it has the rules for the new Wormblade kill team, the Gene Stealer cult kill team. And so I got this so that I could have all of the new rules and I could build a team. And I decided that since I had it and since I paid for it, I should give it a read and see like what is the fuss about? Is this good? Is it bad? Is it just a catalog? And I was pleasantly surprised. It's not bad. It's got articles, it's got some written explanations of battle reports, which I actually almost enjoy more than watching battle reports. I'm not a big battle report person. I like them, I'm going to make them, but I don't really like watching them because as soon as the dice start rolling, my eyes glaze over, I can't follow what's going on. I can't keep track of the board and the terrain and what both armies are trying to do. But the written descriptions weren't bad. There's a lot of really, really fun articles. There is a slow grow campaign between 4 gamers who have been slowly adding, I think, 50 power level to their army every month. And actually in this issue, it is the final product, their finished armies. And it was kind of neat to have the little write-ups and then have the pictures right next to it to look at. This, I think I would have really loved White Dwarf magazine in high school. Because in high school, all I had was the 6th edition big rule book and the Necron Codex. And they were in my backpack. And, it added about 25 pounds to my bag. But I was okay because I would read it. Every lunch period, I would read the Necron Codex. Every bus ride, I would read the Necron Codex. And I would have loved something like this. Little stories, little articles. The painting and modeling section is actually not bad. It's very much the Games Workshop style, but that's all right. And what's kind of fun reading this, as opposed to like looking at stuff on Warhammer Community or the Games Workshop web store, everything is painted perfectly over there. In here, there's pretty average to above average paint jobs. Like reading this, it's not impossible to achieve some of the paint jobs of some people's armies and models they show off in this book, which I think is great. I almost wish that there was more of that. Games Workshop definitely used to do that back in the day, and clearly at some point they discovered that if the models look really good, people will buy them more often than if models look acceptable to maybe bad. So I understand why they do it, but there's kind of a magic to seeing like realistic paint jobs, and this book is full of them. There's some stuff that's a little rough in this book, and I, for one, love that. I don't know if everybody should subscribe to White Dwarf, but I think I would have really gotten a kick out of this. When I was in high school and first getting into Warhammer and I was really loving the game, I loved the 1d4 chant. Does anybody remember that? It's mostly defunct now, and maybe that's for the best, but I remember they had beautiful write-ups for every single army in terms of tactics, and so I would actually go to the library at my high school, because you could print for free as long as they thought you were doing schoolwork, and I would print out like these 70-page rules for the Chaos Space Marines with all the neckbeardy takes and explanations. And I would stand a little further back from the printer to make it look like I'm waiting for somebody else's ridiculous print job to finish. And then, 30 minutes later, after all of these pages had printed and they're hot coming out of the printer, I'd just snatch them up and staple them together. And that was wonderful. But again, something like this would have been great. I would have poured through this and read it and reread it. There's some pretty cool stories in universe that are pretty fun. I'm not going to become a subscriber to White Dwarf. I'll probably pick up the White Dwarfs that have kill team information in them, but it's all right. It's not bad. But if I had a lot more time on my hands, I would definitely enjoy White Dwarf. Man, I miss the 1d4 Chan. It was cringy and neckbeardy, but it was also kind of magical. It was real folks writing real stuff. And what was great was they would, it was a wiki and you could like edit stuff, but they wouldn't ever delete what people wrote. They would cross out what people wrote and then write what their opinion is underneath. And then sometimes people would cross them out and then write what they wanted underneath. There was really cringy, but sometimes really good fan stories from in-universe. It was wonderful. Some of the greatest art from DeviantArt. It was a wonderful time. I can see why it kind of died out, but it was great. So yeah, White Dwarf. Thumbs up. It's decent. I thought this was gonna be much more of a catalog than it is. It really doesn't. It's really just articles and pretty pictures. So, good old White Dwarf. But in other Kill Team news, because I absolutely adore Kill Team, it is my favorite Games Workshop game right now. So they finally shown off the contents of the new Kill Team starter sets, and I was wrong. I was so sure it was going to be Chaos Cultists, because currently there's not a great way to buy Chaos Cultists from Games Workshop. There used to be like a little 5-man box that was pretty good. Now they have an 8-man box, which has lovely models. It's like eight really cool cultists. It's the Cultists of the Abyss from Blackstone Fortress. 8 models, $25. Decent deal as far as Games Workshop goes. And actually that's perfect for Kill Team because you need 8 cultists to make a fire team. But there wasn't a great way to buy cultists, and so I was so sure cultists would slip right into Kill Team so perfectly. But to my surprise, it is Chaos Space Marines. And very similar to the Chalnath Tau Pathfinders, it is the regular box of Chaos Space Marines with an upgrade sprue for the upgrades needed for Kill Team. And taking a look at some of these models, the Sergeant character, the classic plasma pistol and power sword, he has the biggest smile on his face. It's like Buzz Lightyear with just a big old grin and a horn coming out of his head. It is super duper funny. And then the guy next to him is just a complete bog standard Chaos Space Marine from the box. But it looks really, really interesting. There's all of the specialists you would expect. The heavy weapons operator, the special weapons operator, the guy with the knives, the brute with his chaotic hand. A few more close combat options than I was expecting. It looks like you can run standard bolter and you can run chain sword and bolt pistol, even a chain axe, which is kind of interesting. One of the models that is really, really cool is a Chaos Sorcerer, or I think he's like an aspiring sorcerer, like he's a sorcerer in training. Like Mickey Mouse and Fantasia. That's kind of what I picture him as, and it's a really, really cool model. But some of the things that are still left a mystery to us, even though all the contents have been revealed, this is the first time we're seeing them tackle an elite force, because from the Kill Team Compendium, elite teams can usually only take 1 fire team. All Space Marines can only take 1 fire team, except for Custodes, but they're kind of something else. But you can take 5 Primaris Marines or 6 regular Space Marines, and that is your entire kill team, but they've shown off 10 operatives. And so I'm wondering, does that mean that they're gonna bring Chaos Space Marines up to 10 operatives in a regular kill team, almost doubling the number you can take? I kinda hope they don't do that, because I feel like it would make them a lot less elite if you just take the exact same number as you take of anything else. Like you take 10 orcs. Orcs have 10 wounds in kill team, and you can take 10 of them. And Chaos Space Marines have 11 wounds, and you can only take 6 of them. I really, really hope that they bump up the wounds a lot and only allow you to take 5 or 6, and then give them lots and lots of upgrades to make you be able to do a lot more things with those 5 or 6 bodies, because that would make them feel to me more like Space Marines. If everything is always just 10 or so models, I feel like you would lose a little something. So I'm really, really interested to see how many operatives are available for Chaos Space Marines. Also, they're showing off 10 models in this article, and if you can only bring 6, then that really brings the roster system into play, because you're like, ooh, do I need the sorcerer in this battle? Am I gonna need the Havoc launcher? Or it's not a Havoc launcher, it is the Hades autocannon, which is a super cool model that previously was only available to the Havocs, which is the Chaos Space Marine version of the Devastator squad. So I could see a lot of people buying, when this box is available standalone, I could see a lot of Chaos Space Marine players just buying this box to get the weapon options. But I don't know, it's really cool. Even though it's disappointing to me because I was so sure it was going to be Chaos Cultists. I do like the Chaos Space Marines. Of course, I've already called dibs on the Eldar Corsairs. So I guess Nick is gonna have to find his love for the Chaos Space Marines because that's what he gets. But really interesting. I can't wait to see the rules because so far everything we've gotten is 10 bodies, you know, kind of okay saves, okay guns, a couple of really cool things here and there. We haven't seen them tackle an elite army, and so it'll be really cool to see how they do it, because I think either they really make them elite, pump up the number of wounds, especially since a lot of guns in Kill Team are very, very lethal, and it's not at all unreasonable to do 11 wounds, like in a single attack. So our Chaos Space Marine's gonna have 18 wounds? I don't know, I think that could be kind of interesting, but we will see. And they didn't just show off the second half of the teams, they also showed off the terrain. And with the terrain, I was absolutely right. I said it would be crazy cool to get some Eldar terrain or some Chaos terrain, but I wonder how Games Workshop is gonna ignore all of that and give us the same old, same old. And they gave us the same old with the Sector Mechanicus terrain, which looks fine. It's really cool terrain, but it's just funny to me that it was like, okay, we could get something awesome, but we're probably gonna get something average, and we absolutely got something average. The Nachmund terrain comes with a bunch of different kits, Sector Mechanicus kits that Games Workshop offers on their web store. And what's kind of interesting to me is that this set of terrain, I think it'll populate your board pretty darn good, but it's very light on vantage points. Vantage points in Kill Team can be very, very punishing, and often you always want to try to get your models on a vantage points, especially like your really, really good guns. And so I kind of like that this is fairly sparse. The only problem with it being really, really sparse is there's not a lot of obscuring terrain. Obscuring terrain is the thing that can save you from vantage points. So it'd be fun to play on this terrain. I think you would need to add in a couple more buildings or larger structures to help block line of sight. But it comes with some neat stuff. I really like the crane. I really like the plasma generators. Plasma generators, I actually have that kit, and I'm excited to get 2 more. It's really cool looking, and it's really, really fun to paint, and it makes for a really, really nice little turret for your guys to stand on. The only complaint I have about this terrain is I wouldn't have minded another set of pipes. I feel like they were a little stingy with the pipes. You get 3 lengths and a couple of ends. I think they could have given you 6 lengths. Really let you kind of fill the board up with pipes. But other than that, it's neat. I think it'll totally get the job done. And a lot of people really, really love Sector Mechanicus. Sector Mechanicus terrain, I think, really benefits from having a lot of it, and I actually do have a fair bit of it, so I think I'll really be able to make some cool looking boards. Overall, Nachmund looks like it's going to be a pretty darn good Kill Team box. Really excited to see what they do with the Chaos rules. Like, I feel like the Eldar Corsairs are gonna be not average. I'm sure they'll have the things that make them stand out, but the Chaos, I have no idea what they're gonna do. I mean, if I had to make a prediction again, and unfortunately I was right with the Chalnath terrain, or the Nachmund terrain, but if it's just you can bring 10 Chaos Space Marines, they all have 11 wounds, I feel like that's gonna be pretty boring. And then what are the elite teams gonna be? Like, is the only elite team in the whole game going to be like Custodes? Are they gonna be the only thing with a small model count, high damage threshold army? That's what I don't want to see happen, but we're gonna have to wait and see what Games Workshop comes up with. Oh, and one thing I absolutely cannot forget, and the one thing that absolutely ruins Nachmund, it's a garbage box, complete and utter trash. If you look at the cardboard game board that they give you in the box, it's tan sand. This is the third box that we're getting where the battle board to play on is tan sand. What? They couldn't have come up with anything a little bit more interesting than tan sand. This is the third time we're getting tan sand. And it's not even like, oh, well, you once you buy all the boxes and you put all the boards together, you get to play on one really big tan sand board. No, because they're all slightly different shades of tan sand. It is, it's preposterous. I do not like it at all. They've done some cool looking boards. They've done like a red board. They've done like a bluish looking board. Give us something a little better than tan sand. And the crazy thing is that these boards are actually reversible. They take the time to print a board on both halves. And so for Octeris, the one side was tan sand, and then the other side was also tan sand. And then with Chalnath, one side was tan sand, and then they thought, okay, we can't just keep doing nothing but tan sand. So on the other side, they took the same photo of tan sand, and they turned it to grayscale. So it's in black and white. That's literally the only difference. And that was lazy. So I cannot wait to see what the other side of this Kill Team board is, because if I had to put money down, I'm gonna say it would be a black and white photo of the tan sand. But please give us something. Literally like a lava planet, a foresty planet, a savanna planet. Like you could do anything. Watch the Star Wars movies. They're on a new planet every 3 minutes. Anything other than tan sand. It's so lazy. So yeah, everything I said about Nachmund saying that it looks exciting and awesome, garbage, because the cardboard board that it comes with is tan sand. So boycott Nachmund. But anyway, in my personal hobbying, I got a ton of stuff done, but it's nothing I can show off because it's all going to be in videos. But it's some really, really cool stuff. Perhaps a lot of retro stuff. I've been really getting into retro models. I mean, I'm always kind of into retro models, but this week I got to work on a bunch of retro stuff, and it was all super duper neat, and you're just gonna have to stay tuned to see what it is. But in between working on my retro stuff, I actually watched the first episode of the new Warhammer Plus show, which is the Tau Exodite show. And it was only 10 minutes long. It was a little bit of a teaser, kind of setting up what's happening. You get introduced to the main character a little bit. You get introduced to the world, to the battle, to the conflict going on, but it looks absolutely phenomenal. Holy cow, is it some good 3D animation. Super, super cool. I think the Tau themselves look fantastic, and I think it's because they're Tau, not humans. Like a human face, to animate a human face, it has to be beyond perfect. But I feel like a Tau face, you can kind of get away with it looking weird because it should look weird. It's the Tau, they must look different than people. But it was a really, really cool show, and I can't wait to watch it. And if you are excited to watch it, you're gonna have to join our Patreon, because we have a show called Conflict Gavel Plus, which is no way affiliated with anything that you may have a similar sounding name. But if you subscribe to our Patreon, then we have one extra episode of EonsOfBattle a week, where you can watch along with us Mystery Science Theater 3000 style for these Warhammer shows. They've all been pretty okay. It's too bad this stuff's not on YouTube, but again, just subscribe to our Patreon, and then you'll be able to watch it. And watch us poke fun at the Tau blueberries. And if you don't want to join the Patreon because of the one whole extra episode of EonsOfBattle a week, which is already crazy amazing value, we also have a whole bunch of Grimdark Terrain STLs, a little bit of behind the scenes, and you get to vote on what models I paint live here on YouTube. And as if that wasn't enough, we also have a weekly Friday night Discord hangouts where we all hop into a Discord channel and we just chit chat. It's a wonderful way to end the week. It reminds me a lot of going to hang out at the Warhammer store and talking with the other painting nerds, and it's just a really, really fun way to end the week. But it wasn't just me who had a crazy Warhammer week. Games Workshop also had a crazy week because Henry Cavill, Superman, visited Warhammer World. There were tons of posts on Instagram about it. It was super, super cute seeing this giant of a man wandering amongst the nerds over at Warhammer World. Super, super adorable. And this isn't true, but my headcanon is, because Henry Cavill's a millionaire. He's been in these huge blockbuster movies, but I like to think he goes to Warhammer World just so that he can be like, so can I get like a box of Tactical Marines on the house? Like he needs to use his influence just to afford Warhammer. But it was super adorable seeing him at some of the sets that you see on the Warhammer TV show and in the game store, or in the Games Workshop store that exists there on site. It was super, super cute. And what's great is I'm sure you see pictures of him with all the employees. And I love that, like, usually probably there's like 1 or 2 employees there at any given time, but everybody showed up to work on the Henry Cavill day. So much fun. Absolutely adorable. I know a lot of people want Henry Cavill to do some sort of a Warhammer show, and I don't know if that'll ever happen. Probably not. I think Warhammer is best served with animation because Warhammer is so big and bombastic and epic. The only way you would do it live action is like HBO Game of Thrones, like HBO Game of Thrones level of money, and it's just not gonna happen because like each episode of Game of Thrones costs like $15 million. And you know, Games Workshop, they did pretty good last year, but I don't know if they want to take half of their profits and sink it into a TV show. But it would be neat. It would be neat. And I think Henry Cavill, because he's so big and larger than life, he would kind of slot right into anything. I know a lot of people meme that he's the Emperor of Mankind because he kind of does look like how people depict the Emperor of Mankind. But I just think it's super fun and silly. And actually, Games Workshop was not the only celebrity to appear at Warhammer World. He's just the only one anybody cared about. Because Andy Serkis was actually on 2 episodes of a show on Games Workshop's YouTube channel, and nobody cared. I like Andy Serkis. He's a super great actor. I love Gollum. I love the Planet of the Apes movies. He was really, really good in Black Panther. Although they shouldn't have killed him off. He was a really fun bad guy. But he was sitting there painting Grey Knights with the gang over at Warhammer World, and the video got like 25,000 views, which is too bad. I think it wasn't the greatest video of all time, but it was kind of fun. But it's just funny that these different levels of stardom, I guess. But it was neat. As Games Workshop is probably going as mainstream as they could possibly ever go, which means barely anything not mainstream. Like, in the grand scheme of things, Warhammer is a pretty small hobby, and even if it did go mainstream, whatever that means, it's not like it would be big. Like, just think about the huge asks it takes for somebody to get into this war game. They need to figure out what game they want to play. There's like 10. I mean, are they going to play Adeptus Titanicus, Aeronautica Imperialis, Kill Team, Warcry, Underworlds, Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar? Figuring out what all of those mean is one hurdle. And then the next hurdle is figuring out what to buy. And then the next hurdle is coming up with the oodles of cash it takes to buy everything. And then you actually have to assemble the models, which is not easy. Games Workshop models are some of the easiest to assemble out there, and they can be really tricky. I find that actually there's a weird bell curve between the older kits are really hard to put together, especially like if you look at some of the original Tactical Marines where you had 2 arms and the gun separate and you needed to clip off the little handle and then glue it to the hand, and then you set it with plastic glue and then it starts to droop, and then you have to constantly be kind of scooching it back up into position before the glue has had proper enough time to set. So that's hard to do. And then you have to paint the models, and that's hard to do. And then you have to learn the rules, and that's hard to do. And then finally you have to play the game, but there's no one to play with. So you have to trick a buddy or go to a gaming group or find a Warhammer or find a local store that hosts game nights or things. It's a huge hurdle, and it's not for everyone. It might not even be for a lot of people. I think it really flims the flams and jimmies the jams of the people who see it and they really get into it because it's an excuse to flex your artistic muscles, and it even kind of has that built-in show-off factor where, you know, you paint your models and you're like, damn, I really like how I got these to look. I'm really proud of myself. I really like my models. And then you get to show it to other people across from the gaming table, and then they get to be excited about what you painted. You get to be excited about what they painted. And it's fun to play this game. It's kind of fun to disconnect and just work really hard to, measure and move your guys and pull off all your little tricks and buff your stratagems and use your psychic powers. It is an incredibly good time for the people who would enjoy it. And I think that is a wonderful, wonderful little thing. But yeah, I think Warhammer has gone about as mainstream as it could possibly get. I don't think it'll ever be pulling in Marvel numbers because it's not Marvel, but it's pretty darn cool. It's cool enough to have a silly, silly magazine with a bright red Santa-looking guy on the cover. This is a very Christmassy issue, isn't it? I could see this. I could see this being their December issue. But anyhow, that is what I worked on this week. Man, after I'm done with this, I might have to go track down some saved pages of the 1D4chan and just give them a read for old time's sake. But that is what I've been up to, so thanks for watching.